Tiffany Rafii, CEO of UpSpring, talks to host Doug Simon on PR's Top Pros Talk.
Tiffany, as we get into our conversation about thought leadership, I thought it'd be great to give the viewers some context about the types of clients you've been working with.
Here at UpSpring, we specialize in working in what we call the design and development industries. So our clients are a range of architecture firms, interior design, some construction engineering, real estate, product companies. And then we have a consumer team as well that handles everything from product to home decor and beyond.
Yeah, and you're a big believer in thought leadership propelling brands and industries forward. What are some of your top tips or approaches in that area?
So as it relates to thought leadership, clients who come to us are really looking to, of course, grow their profile and expand in one way or another. Obviously, that expansion means something different to everybody. But if you continue to show what you have and what you're doing, then you're really going to attract just more of the same. So I think it's incredibly important that you're innovating in whatever your industry or market is, and sharing those ideas and innovation. Not all of them need to be high level or even something that could be implemented immediately, right? But more ideas about how you can propel that industry forward, or sort of guide it forward. Everyone really wants to hear what's possible, right? And what they should be thinking of and what they should be concerned with. So in order to really position yourselves to attract clients that are above and beyond what you've previously worked with and on, you really need to show sort of that forward-thinking innovation in every way possible.
That makes a lot of sense. And speaking of sharing, you have some examples you wouldn't mind talking about?
One great example is we have a client that was really hoping to break into the cruise industry a bit further. And so they came up with this really great idea internally about taking decommissioned cruise ships and repurposing them for affordable housing. It's not something they had done. It's not something that's even happening. But of course, cruise industry hit really hard by the pandemic. Affordable housing, a huge conversation really across the country. So not only two topics that are incredibly relevant from a news standpoint, but a solution you're putting forward. So they developed renderings on what this could look like and really how this could be implemented. And I think, the concern is less with actually taking decommissioned cruise ships and turning them into affordable housing tomorrow. Although if we could figure it out, it'd be really helpful,
Not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea. But I think it's more about showing their capability and innovation and thought, and associating themselves with two industries they're looking to grow and expand in. So, having a good team on board, obviously from a PR standpoint, to take that information and really get it out into the market with really great renderings and highlighting their top tier talent in both affordable housing design as well as cruise, is a really great way to sort of champion those industries, but also spark conversation, right? Amongst peers in the industry so that we can problem solve. How can we push these two industries forward, even if it's not this one core idea? I think what I love the most about thought leadership isn't just the opportunity to drive business forward, but also to really create opportunity for creativity and imagination, and the opportunity to spark dialogue so that we can problem solve together.
Of course, I've always been on this stand trying to encourage clients to use internal spokespeople for media tours. And from our survey of broadcasters, they prefer an internal spokesperson to interview than an hired outside expert by a 3-to-1 margin. So how does an organization identify who might be an internal spokesperson?
So the biggest mistake that organizations make is they think the spokesperson always has to be top tier leadership. And I'm not saying it can't be, it absolutely can be. But the first thing that's important is the identification of goals, right? What are we trying to accomplish by putting whatever the content or the thought leadership content is? What do we want the impact to be? And then who can speak to that topic in the most authentic way, whether it be their credentials, their media presence, something they've worked on, right? That definitely lends themselves to being the right spokesperson. And then how does that tie back to the goal? So for some, it might be, our core company goal is hiring, retention, and recruitment. Well, then maybe you want to have a team member that's up and coming or rising star in the organization be the spokesperson for said topic. For others, it might be driving into a new sector, in which case, whichever team member has the deepest roots in that sector so that we can show capability and competency in that sector might be the most important. So really just sort of depends on, again, really identifying. And I think that's the biggest mistake that's made from a strategy standpoint is not having that goal initially, because then you're just putting forward the person that you think should be representing the firm as opposed to the person who should be representing the thought. And really making sure that that authenticity is there is just number one.
And that does make sense. I mean, clearly for some financial things, the CEO or CFO is logical and necessary. But to your point, differentiating representing the firm versus representing thought, and by then placing the firm on a higher platform, it's a great way to do it. It also brings diversity into the picture. I've had some exciting times with media training, and we work with the people doing satellite tours as well. But how long can it take to train someone to be ready? And I know there are some people who can get it immediately and understand. Some people that are sort of in the middle ground, and then some people are like, oh my God, they're hating it. They protest too much, but you still need them. So we can maybe start with the toughest. Let's say they're the right person, but they're not media ready. What's an approach to getting them prepared?
You nailed it, right? Some people it's just sort of in their blood. And for others, it just takes more time to media train and prep them. So they're short term. It really depends on how large of a spokesperson you plan on this person being, right? If there's really just one more focused thought leadership campaign that might be a little bit more narrow, and we don't plan on having them sort of be a spokesperson for the company overall, then there are ways to sort of skirt around it, right? So we still want to media train them and make sure they're prepped for every single interview with fact sheets and really solid preparation and run throughs ahead of time. But for those individuals who really just may not be comfortable or can't hack it, and you can't maybe train them in the short term, and looking towards written interviews is definitely a way that you can sort of navigate that. But yes, I mean, I think for those who might need a little bit more time, regular training, weekly training sessions, opportunities to have them speak internally as much as humanly possible so that they're practicing those presentation skills, and then making sure they're media trained extensively before each and every opportunity, so that they're comfortable in anticipating the questions and the way they need to respond to them is really important. But I mean, for someone who's going to be a core spokesperson, it can take months to train them. For someone who may be more of a short-term spokesperson, then an afternoon could be sufficient. So really just sort of depends on what we're looking to accomplish here.
And I think that's a great point you made about putting them in places where they're likely to succeed. They might be easier internally, for example, to develop skills or speak on a panel than jumping right to doing a broadcast interview or something that might be a contentious point or challenging situation. So there are different skill levels. I mean, you've taken advantage of that with your own podcast to show how thought leadership leads to growth. And we've doubled in sales since we started this program, even though its purpose initially wasn't to do sales, it was to help people navigate through COVID when we didn't have a lot of work and the industry was changing overnight. So how do you see thought leadership positively impacting business growth for the clients you work with?
Going back to that authenticity, people want to believe in what they're buying now, or who they're working with, that their values align, that they feel like they'll be able to navigate, as you just said, right? The world changed overnight. The world could change overnight at any moment again. I think we're all acutely aware of that now. And so really taking into considerations a lot of things like sustainability and DEI and the way that companies might approach the development of any sort of project they might be working on, or the products that they're developing and the materials and how they're sourcing them and developing those products. People want to believe in who they're working with and trust them, right? So making sure that everything always seems incredibly authentic, I think, is super important. And the clients that we have who walk the walk and give us the opportunity to shed light on a lot of those initiatives are the ones that we're seeing have tremendous growth. They, if it doesn't feel real, if it isn't real, right, then it's not going to be sincere, and it will not lead to that growth. And as you mentioned, we do have our podcast, and we didn't initially really view it as a thought leadership tool, more as a community builder, right? For us, we thought there was really space for the design board and to bring our community together. I mean, we've been around for 15 years. We represent, 100 plus clients at any given time. We're a team of 60 people, and our clients all live and touch everything, right? From healthcare to affordable housing to hospitality, residential, the places that everybody sort of lives and breathes and works in. They're touching those. And so exploring everything from how we design and interact with areas, spaces that are meant for neurodivergent individuals, all the way through to safety in K through 12 and higher ed spaces. So I think that, again, just staying forward thinking on sharing your ideas on thought leadership, staying really authentic to what those conversations are, will just naturally lead to that growth in many ways.
Great. Congratulations on the great work you're doing and your recent 15th year anniversary.
Thank you so much.